Hey everyone, in this video we'll be talking about types of hormones. As you know, there is many types of hormones and this type is usually based on the basic structure of these hormones. So what they are made of generally. If they are made of amino acids, proteins, peptides, steroids or anything like that. So one of the first types that we'll be discussing now is steroids. Steroids are made of lipids and derived from cholesterol. So this is generally made of fats or lipids. Cholesterol is also a type of lipid. So sterol. So we have a word called sterol and this is what gives us steroids. So cholesterol is an important fatty acid that is needed by our body because it is needed for the production of testosterone, estrogen and progesterone. And cholesterol is always present in animal fats only, not in plant fats. So only very tiny amount is required, but for the production of this hormone, this is necessary. So the types of the hormones that come under the steroid hormones are testosterone, estrogen, progesterone, etc. And we also have corticoids here. One more example. And next one is the amine hormones. Amine group is present and they are derived from tyrosine. So NH2 is the amine group. So these are derived from the tyrosine amino acid. So tyrosine is an amino acid. And one of the examples that we have discussed earlier was T3 and T4. Here we also have epinephrine and norepinephrine. As I said earlier, these are catecholamines which have amine groups. So these are also present under that. Then we have peptide hormones or protein hormones. So peptides, as I said, is a made up of amino acid residues. Peptide chains are simple linear chains. So amino acids join together to form linear chains which are nothing but peptides. So usually they have 9, so this one has 9, so they have usually 10 amino acids, around 10 maximum. So few examples are oxytocin and vasopressin, which has 9 amino acids joined together and they form a peptide. So these are peptide hormones. Then we have insulin and glucagon as we discussed earlier. Then we have the iodothyronins. Iodothyronins are nothing but iodine atoms attached to the tyrosine molecule. Again, this is nothing but the T3 and T4 hormones. So now let us discuss about how these hormones actually interact with their target cell. So as you can see here, this is the cell membrane. So first we will be talking about the steroid hormones, right? So as you can see, this is the cell membrane and cell membrane is nothing but a lipid bilayer. So what do you mean by lipid bilayer? So it has a lot of chain of lipids here. And this has 2 chains of lipids. So tails of these lipids are attached to each other, not attached to each other, but they are facing each other, and the heads face away from each other. So this forms the lipid bilayer or the cell membrane. And then these have small proteins in between them, which are usually for the permeation of certain molecules that allow certain molecules inside out. So here, as you can see, this is the hormone. And it has to penetrate into this, it has to react on this target cell. So how will it react? So as you can see here, there is a receptor present inside the cell. Now this is only for the steroid hormones. Now as I said here earlier, steroids are nothing but they are made of lipids. So steroid hormones are made of lipids, mainly from cholesterol. So this hormone, it is also a lipid and this bilayer is also a lipid bilayer. So it can actually go through this, right? And it goes through this and receptor is present inside the cell and it goes directly and attaches to the receptor. And when hormone and receptor complexes form, a response is generated. Usually this response is generated when there is change in the shape of the receptor, or what happens is there is a chemical such as calcium ions are produced and these are sent as a signal to the nucleus of the cell. So this is how the action is generated. As you know, nucleus is the main brain of the cell. So whatever it receives as a signal, it will work on that and it will order the cell to behave that way. So each and every time this hormone goes and connects to this receptor, it actually joins into this receptor. So what happens is a complex forms. A shape may change here, its shape, or any calcium ions or any signal is generated, and there can be a secondary signal usually through the calcium ions, and it goes into the nucleus, a response is generated and specific action is taken. Now another way that happens here is by when the hormone is something like a peptide or a protein hormone or an amine hormone which is not a lipid. So it cannot penetrate directly into the cell membrane, right? So what happens here is it has the cell membrane has proteins or on its cell membrane itself. So when here we have receptor proteins. The receptor proteins, as said, they have a very specific shape, and this hormone too has a specific shape. So this hormone can only fit into its own specific protein. So what happens is this hormone comes and it fits into the hormone receptor, and a secondary messenger is generated. That can be a calcium ion, and a biochemical response is generated. And this messenger reaches the nucleus and performs a certain action. An action is generated. So nucleus then signals the cell to generate the action that it was called for to do. So this is how hormones actually go into the target cell and target specific organs. As I had said in the first video, that each receptor has a specific shape. So as I said, hormones are chemical messengers. They are chemicals that carry a message through blood to a specific organ and generate an action, right? So how do they recognize their specific organ is by these receptors. So these receptors have a specific shape which only can attract this specific hormone. So this hormone can only fit into its specific receptors. It cannot fit into any other receptor. So it does not go and fit into it. It flows with the blood and it comes to the receptor which can fit it. So it fits into that receptor and it generates an action. So this is how these hormones actually interact with the target organ. So next we'll be discussing about hormonal disorders and any disorders that occur in the endocrine glands. Thank you.